Good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the University of Nebraska and to the Nebraska Innovation Campus. And for those who are making the journey to Nebraska for the first time, welcome. It really is great to have this cross-section of individuals representing academia, the private sector, NGOs, private industry, governments. We have some 350 participants from 15 different countries. We have students, graduate students, professionals, faculty, industry leaders here with us. It was 2 years ago here in this room was my first water conference, and it was an exciting time, and I look forward to the next 2 days with you. According to the World Bank, water-related hazards such as floods, storms, and droughts are responsible for 9 out of every 10 natural disasters. And climate change is expected to increase this risk and place even greater stress on scarce water supplies. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about one of these water hazards that we've had here in this great state, affecting nearly 500,000 acres of land, 300 or so of that being farmland and livestock production. The international NGO Global Communities has identified the following 5 reasons why access to clean water is critical. I think if we were to ask this group, you'd come up with these without much trouble. Water scarcity can lead to or exacerbate already existing civil unrest. Water scarcity can diminish agricultural production and reduce food security. Water scarcity can spur population shifts. It can worsen the spread of disease, and it can undermine economic development. Five key reasons why we're here thinking about water security from a global perspective. I encourage each of us to think about these 5 and other areas throughout the next 2 days. Nebraska is a great setting for this conference. The state truly is a living laboratory for water and agricultural research. And in addition, the Daugherty Water for Food Global Institute, through its partnerships with many of you in the room and around the world, provides us an excellent opportunity to unpack and explore these issues. Just a little bit about Nebraska. If you take a look at Nebraska on a map, it's pretty flat, but it runs from west to east, a drop of about 4,700 miles. In that space, the eastern side looks very much like the eastern part of the U.S., somewhere between 32 and 36 inches of precipitation per year, fertile soils. On the west, however, over in Scotts Bluff and Mitchell, we get about 12 to 14 inches of rainfall. And so between Wyoming and Iowa, you have a greater elevation change than between the Missouri River and the Atlantic Ocean, with the exception of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's a pretty neat living laboratory. We have 80,000 miles of surface water in streams and rivers. And beneath Nebraska, as you all well aware, I'm a plant pathologist, not a water expert, we have the Ogallala or High Plains Aquifer, and if you were to take a look at the volume of water there, it would roughly equal that in Lake Huron, one of our Great Lakes. It's a pretty spectacular living laboratory, and it's this living laboratory that our water scientists from Nebraska and beyond come to innovate. And over the next 2 days, you'll hear about some of these innovations. Exciting opportunities, for example, to help smallholders increase production through farmer-led irrigation methods and sustainable business models. Ways to monitor, prepare for, and mitigate drought conditions in arid regions around the world. And using policy tools such as water markets to enhance effective water management between farms, and how climate change, water quality, and nutrition intersect and affect each other. 2 years ago, Rob Bertram from USAID gave a plenary session and talked about the interaction of these things and the pernicious cycle of poverty and how these things are inextricably linked to that pernicious cycle that keep roughly 1 out of every 7 humans on the planet stuck in that trap. I encourage you to make the most of your experience here at the conference, get to know each other, network, express your thoughts, introduce yourself to others. What a terrific networking opportunity. Next, I'd like to welcome the Executive Director of the Daugherty Water for Food Global Institute, Dr. Peter McCornick.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. It is my privilege and pleasure to officially convene the 2019 Water for Food Conference, Water for a Hungry World, Innovation in Water and Food Security. At this point, I'm supposed to hit my gavel, but I forgot it. So my apologies, Molly. But I declare it open. It is very fitting that we are holding this conference, particularly the topic this year on Nebraska's Innovation Campus, and also home of the Daugherty Water for Food Institute. We were one of the first tenants on this campus. Little did I know when I was attending the original conference 10 years ago that I would be standing here today as the Institute's Executive Director. We've both come a long way in the past decade. The Daugherty Water for Food Institute was launched to pursue the research and develop solutions to the global challenge of feeding a quickly growing population while carefully managing our precious water resources. To do this, we leveraged the skills of our own staff with nearly 120 University of Nebraska faculty fellows, a number of global fellows, as well as a number of national and international partners working in key regions that we are also involved in. Collaboratively, we are addressing water and food security through a focused approach on research, policy, education, and communication. For more details on this, do visit our website, where you can now view our new interactive map of the projects and activities that we as an institute have been involved in with our faculty fellows and many of you as partners. And it's now on the screen. Since we last convened in 2017, world hunger levels have actually gone up. So if we're using that metric, we're seeing our targets backsliding a bit. Also, many major water systems around the world have either continued to degrade or experienced setbacks in local efforts to sustain those systems, such as the persistent and growing water quality challenges in the hugely important food-producing Ganges Plain of India, and the challenges Australia has experienced with their bold efforts to revitalize the Murray-Darling River system, exacerbated by yet another drought. Even here in Nebraska, where our innovative natural resource district system has created the foundation for effectively managing water resources, supporting the state's agricultural-based economy, water quality remains a challenge. Also, as you'll hear more about in the conference, only a few weeks ago, Nebraska experienced an unprecedented flooding event, reminding us of water's destructive power and the fragility of our agricultural systems. In the past couple of years, research efforts have furthered global discourse on the connections between water and nutrition. And this is certainly something that's emerged considerably in the last few months, and the intersections, particularly with the human health and diet. This is the focus of one of our conference sessions and will be explicitly addressed here during the Harlan lecture on Tuesday evening, presented by Mark Rosegrant. Mark was the lead author of the Chicago Council's report on water and nutrition, which was launched last month. We have conference sessions exploring innovations from a variety of directions, not only in terms of technology, but also improved policies and best practices to sustainably enhance water and food productivity. Sessions topics such as irrigation business models for smallholder farmers, drought prediction and mitigation, water reuse in food production, the challenges of managing water quality, the value of water, and even a war game scenario involving water scarcity. In addition, there is an important and oversubscribed side session on Women for Water on Wednesday morning. I also encourage you to look at the poster sessions that are very high quality, and also, as Molly mentioned, do visit the booths of our partners that are here. I think it's great to have that participation in the conference. In one of the sessions, How Light Are We Treading?, colleagues will be presenting findings or preliminary findings from the Nebraska Water Productivity Report. There are some striking results in that report, including how Nebraska has significantly increased the crop produced per drop of water from the groundwater, the surface water, and rainfall over the last 30 years. And even more dramatically, how beef production has increased 5-fold and pork 3-fold. And yet groundwater tables have generally stabilized across the state. This is a remarkable increase in water productivity for crops and livestock. The question we have to ask ourselves is, can we do this again? Can we actually, if you think about it, you've increased water productivity a lot here in Nebraska with a lot of investment. We've done this in other regions of the world. But to meet the targets around food production, even by changing diets or changing markets, we still have to do a lot in actually increasing productivity. And can we really reach those targets? This is a question you should keep in the back of your mind during this week. During our last conference, we held a session on small-scale irrigated agriculture, where we wrestled with the task of translating the many creative solutions that have already been tested to intensify smallholder agriculture at scale. How can we actually get this to translate into the sort of outcomes we expect in agriculture in other parts of the world? It was a very engaging session. We did but we did not develop an action plan. It did, however, catalyze an ongoing discussion during the conference that led to a Water for Food forum being held in Washington, D.C. early last year in 2018. This was co-hosted by the World Bank and ourselves in partnership with USAID, USDA, and others, many of you who are in this room, including partners from target countries. So really brought more of the ministers and the decision makers and farmers from countries in sub-Saharan Africa, and a big participation by the private sector as well. This has led to a number of initiatives in specific countries with Pan-African organizations, including AGRA, the African Union, more of which will be covered in the conference. Collectively, we have been making important progress, although, to quote IFPRI's Claudia Ringler, realizing the dream of farmer-led irrigation is still a steep climb. I think what's exciting here is, and it goes back for many years of research, much work on developing pilot projects by many partners, really seeing the interest now at the policy-making political level. But of course, to realize how to actually do this remains a challenge, because these all have to be translated in the local context. Why I wanted to tell that story is, for all the topics we're addressing over the next couple of days, there are certainly major challenges ahead. But when we look into the rear-view mirror a few years from now, I believe these will be the good old days when it came to opportunity, because actually the political interest in water and agriculture and agriculture is as high as I've seen it. And I think it's up to us to really strike while the iron is hot and get the solutions in front of the right people to make sure we do not only what do we do, but how do we do it. With this, I would like to challenge you, as you participate here in the conference, to really consider the outcomes that we can develop from the conference. Can we repeat some of the things that have happened in the past, but can we also take some of these issues that we've been struggling with further forward? This is in the specific sessions and in the side conversations you will have. How can we take the ideas we have shared and translate them into impacts? What are the key innovations in technology, practices, and viable policies that will move the needle on the Water for Food challenge? And how do we ensure they move forward? What do we not have at the table? Who do we not have at the table? Who else do we need to be talking to? Ultimately, how will we feed 10 billion people in 30 years with less stress on our water resources? Thank you.